The Houston Chronicle, KGPT TV in the Rio Grande Valley, Al Dia, Dallas Morning News, and the Brownsville Herald. The U.S.-Mexico border has a reputation for being a dangerous place, with U.S. Border Patrol and Mexican authorities playing cat and mouse with smugglers and undocumented migrants, and with drug cartels inflicting unspeakable violence on the region. Frontera, a journey across the U.S.-Mexico border, takes an unblinking look at those dangers and goes beyond stereotypes, offering readers vivid portraits of the beauty and complexity of the area, its history, its contemporary attractions, its rich cultural life. Moving through 38 municipalities on the Mexican side and 24 counties in the U.S., Frontera, a journey across the U.S.-Mexico border, provides analysis of local politics and security issues and showcases the beauty of the U.S.-Mexico border, the home of welcoming and warm people. Frontera is both a feast for the eyes and an encyclopedic reference that offers readers a clear-eyed perspective on a subject of critical importance to the United States and its southern neighbor. The presentation by the author will last 45 minutes, with a 15-minute Q&A to follow thereafter. Now, please give a warm welcome to author and photographer, Sergio Chapa.
Thank you. Yay. Thank you, Melissa. Thank you. Hey, everybody. Thank you for being here this morning and taking time on your weekend to get the behind the scenes on this book, Frontera, which is available at the Houston Public Library. 5 copies spread out, as I learned, throughout the branch, throughout the system. And I'm happy to say people are checking it out. I was looking on the website yesterday, and 3 out of the 5 copies were out, so it's great. Anyways, again, I'm Sergio Chapa, if you will, and I'm author of the book, co-author, along with Guadalupe Correa Cabrera, of Frontera, A Journey Across the U.S.-Mexico Border. It's a coffee table book that includes history, things to see, do, and eat along the border, but also important security information about the drug cartels, migration, and all types of issues. So let's just get started. I wanted to just do a presentation about the book. Maybe a lot of y'all have seen it already, but maybe you don't know the story of how it happened or how it came to be. When people think about the U.S.-Mexico border, first thing, drug cartels. That's what you think. I took this photo when I was working as a journalist for the Brownsville Herald. There was a kidnapping at a federal prison in Matamoros across the border. 5 jail guards kidnapped and murdered. That's what people think of when they think of the border. What do they think of the border? It's a dangerous place. This is a shrine to the Santa Muerte, the Holy Death. You see this all over the border region in northern Mexico, and even somewhat on this side. You think about drugs, you think about fentanyl when you think about the border. This is actually my own photo that I took on the streets of Philadelphia in a neighborhood called Kensington, where there's zombies, basically. They're taking this drug called Trank, which is mixed with fentanyl. They're just slumped over. They're completely unaware that I even took a photo of them. This is what you think of in the border. You think of Mexico, the border, as a source of this drug, of this fentanyl. You think of illegal immigration. I took this photo in a migrant shelter in Sonora. These people were getting ready to cross to the United States at the time. And this Catholic shelter was letting people, feeding people. It was letting them just do simple things like use cell phones to call loved ones back in Honduras or Guatemala or other places. Again, like when you think of the border, you think about like how immigration has changed. The people who are migrating across the border have changed the demographics. Over the past, about 2 or 3 years ago, we saw a dramatic influx of Haitian immigrants. I took this photo in Reynosa, Tamaulipas, across from McAllen, Texas, just a couple years ago, where there's a huge influx of Haitians, and now they have their own businesses. They make their own food. I actually bought, like, if you follow me on TikTok, you can see like the food I bought from them and ate from them. It was really good. It was only $5 to eat this Haitian rice and mushroom dish called Jean Jean, and it was actually really good. It was delicious. But now Haitians, people from Africa, the Middle East, Asia, they're kind of, at the time, when I took this photo about 3 years ago, there was a big influx of asylum seekers and whatnot across the border. That's what you think about the border. Again, like the stereotype of the border is it's dangerous. This is from Eagle Pass, Texas, where Governor Greg Abbott had erected this púa de alambre, this razor wire, and then put containers to kind of slow down migration. And you can see the airboat there. I took this photo from the Mexican side, otherwise I think Border Patrol would have stopped me on the American side. The border, reputation of the border. This is a photo I took with Donald Trump when he was a nominee. This is in Laredo, 2015. You see the MAGA hat, Make America Great Again? It was white back then. The first version was a white colored hat. And what do you call it? It was white. And so he was here in Laredo getting a firsthand look at legal immigration and border trade. And you can see CNN and all the media outlets there. And there's me right here, right there, taking a picture with Donald Trump. But okay, so that's this negative stereotypes about the border. But what people don't talk about, what people don't think about is how actually beautiful parts of the border are. I took this picture in Del Rio. It's the summer monsoon season, like a rainbow in the desert, something we weren't expecting traveling for this book. There are lush canyons, spring-fed canyons. I took this photo on, there's Big Bend National Park in Texas on the American side, but guess what? There's 2 national parks on the Mexican side. We just nicknamed it Mexican Big Bend. And you see so many things that few Americans, even few people from Mexico have seen, just as part of doing this book. Like this is the Arroyo San Carlos near Ojinaga, Chihuahua, and it was just amazing. It blew our minds about how beautiful this place was and how few people visit, how few people know about it. That's why, part of the reason why we decided to write the book. This is from the Sable Palm Forest in Brownsville, Texas. So people think of the border as dirty and dangerous, but it's also filled with like subtropical palm tree forests and things like that, like things you would never expect, just little surprising pockets of beauty and neat little things. The border is beautiful because it's also given us so much. What people don't know is that like things that we in our daily lives are from the border. Margaritas were invented in the border. They were invented in Ciudad Juarez, Mexico during the 1920s, during our prohibition. We have nachos, which were invented in Piedras Negras across the Eagle Pass. We have the Caesar salad, which was invented in Tijuana, Mexico. So there's so many things in our daily lives, and burritos are from Ciudad Juarez as well. So many things that the border has given us, like culturally and like to our cuisine. The border is beautiful. It's full of hundreds of years of history. This was taken at a place called Guerrero Viejo, which is a Spanish mission, a Spanish town from the 1700s. When they built Falcon Dam in between Texas and Mexico, the old town got flooded, but during drought years, the church and the town reappear. So this is a very like complex area of the border. It's controlled by the Zetas, who later became the Cartel del Noreste. So like access is tricky, but like I managed to pull it off like on one trip and get these photos. And then one thing that you think of the border, that it's dangerous, right? But no, it's also filled with hardworking, industrious people. This is Don Cuco's boots in Ciudad Mier, and I wish I had worn the boots I actually bought here today, but they're some of the most comfortable cowboy boots I ever had owned in my life. They custom to your feet. And it's like $120 for a pair of cowboy boots, custom, where they just measure your foot. And then these guys make it. You pick your style and they make it. Like, they have like rolls and rolls of like, you know, crocodile hides and ostrich skin, everything. And they're just like, whatever you want. But it's a beautiful place. And then, you know, this is like a photo taken in Camargo, which is where there was a turf war, there were beheadings. But yet, in the middle of all this, life goes on, and there's a fishing tournament, you know, with families and children. And so, like, me and my co-author Guadalupe, we wanted to capture all of that and put it in our book, little moments. It's more than just the violence. It's more than just its dangerous reputation. The borders also represents the future of humanity. I don't know if a lot of you know this. I mean, I'm sure everybody knows about SpaceX and Elon Musk and Boca Chica and Brownsville, Texas, and the whole reason why it's there is because of the southern latitudes. It's just easier to, you know, launch a rocket, less energy to launch it in space. But did you know that there were 2 other rocket launch sites along the border? There's one owned by the billionaire Jeff Bezos near Van Horn, Texas, in the Big Bend, and there's also Spaceport America near Las Cruces, New Mexico. And Richard Branson, the Virgin Atlantic billionaire, is also there. They're all doing it's the same game. Get as south as you can within the United States and launch your rockets into space. And that's the name of the game. And the border is a big, important part of the future of the aerospace and rocket industry. So our story, that's the border. Those are the things, the good and the bad. And so now we get to our story. Me and my co-author Guadalupe. This is our story. This is the photo we took on our first border trip. This is going back, and I'm talking. I mean, this photo is practically taken yesterday, right? Yeah. I mean, like 10 years, 10 pounds ago, maybe. I don't know. Back when I was a TV reporter, I was living in the U.S.-Mexico border in the Rio Grande Valley, and for a little station called KGBT, Channel 4, and I would cover the drug cartel violence on the other side. And Guadalupe Cabrera, she was a professor, and her specialty was security, drug trafficking, everything like that. So we were covering the same topic, but from different ends. And we kind of had had a Twitter crush on each other. I think like she would report on Twitter about all the drug cartel violence, and I would do the same. And I said, I would really love to meet Guadalupe. She's so cool. I love her tweets. And then she had the same thing in mind. And finally, we met. And after all that, and we said to each other, I want to see the border. But before we did that, part of mine and Guadalupe's work. Let's just rewind the tape a little bit. Back around 2010, 2012, the Zetas had split with the Gulf Cartel. And so there's like a turf war, a civil war on the Mexican side of the border, fighting for control of the drug trade, of migrant trades, everything. And the cartels issued a media blackout. It was like, boom, nobody reports on the violence. There was deadly gun battles every day in big cities, with like 1 million people, like Reynosa or Matamoros, and people were dying and getting killed, and then there was no news stories. They were like reporting completely different things on the news, oh, City Hall got painted today, and you're like, wait, but 10 people got killed. And so these people right here, who you see here, they're just ordinary people. We've got he was a manager at a bus depot, like a Greyhound. She was a nurse. He was a teacher. Everything. They just took to Twitter and they started reporting anonymously. They created fake names on their Twitter accounts, and they started reporting all the violence, videos, photos. And this is very brave of them, because if they're ever caught, they could be killed. And they would report that. So me and Guadalupe, they would have like parties, like posadas and quinceañeras and things. And so we would cross the border to be with them and just have that exchange. And then, for me in the news, they would send me videos and information every time a gun battle happened. And that's just what you do with people. You know them from online and social media, but when you know them in person, it's that much more real. And so we spend a lot of time with these people. And this is from our posada, and I blacked them out just because trying to keep them, their eyes, to keep them anonymous. But we would go to a posada, which is like a Mexican Christmas party. You have candles, you sing, you eat, champaral, you drink this coffee. It's really good. It's a really good, beautiful moment, and we would do that. And sadly, months after this photo was taken, one of these people was kidnapped and murdered. She was a doctor. She was, and she reported on Twitter, even though this had nothing to do with her career. She's not a reporter. She's not anything. She would just report on Twitter that what she saw in Reynosa, in the city. And then she just happened, at the time the cartels were setting up checkpoints throughout the city, and she just happened to have the bad luck of rolling through one of them. And they're like, who are you? Let me see your phone. Then you have Twitter. And then, and then what they did is they murdered her, and then they posted a message using her own Twitter account. And then, as a warning to the others and to us and the others. And it was quite chilling. And so Guadalupe and I, we brought their message to the South by Southwest conference in Austin. This is all before the border book stuff. This is all way before all that. And it was called Life on the Line, Tweeting the Drug War, telling the stories of these people and their bravery, with the drug cartels. And it was, and that her name weighed heavily on our minds during this time and this period. People are dying just to tweet, And then later on, after our first border trip, we kind of put together it's a UT El Paso. They have a online border zine, they call it, reporting across fronteras. We did a kind of reporting for that about the border. And then it got picked up by NBC Latino. So there was a lot of momentum, just kind of going through the timeline of things. All that drug war stuff, that was like 2010, 2012. And then finally, me and Guadalupe were like, in 2013, we're like, we need to take our first trip. So we got in my car and Brownsville, Texas, and we drove zigzagging all the way to El Paso. It took like 9 days. And we're just like, this is so amazing. But like back then, it was still dangerous on the Mexican side. So we would usually park our car on the drive my car, park it on the American side, walk across, and then like see the town, talk to people, and then we would just, before nightfall, got to be back on the American side. That's how it was. And then 6 months later, we did the other trip. We did El Paso. We flew to El Paso and then drove to San Diego and then did the same thing again. And then in 2019, we were decided to do the whole border trip again in 2 weeks. We got our book contract in August 2020, right in the middle of the pandemic. TCU Press said yes. Ever since this trip, we've been pitching the book, like to publishers, various publishers. And, some publishers, I don't know if y'all know much about the way the book industry works, but for a book like this with all these photos, they want you to put a deposit on it, right? Like some publishers wanted $10,000, $20,000, but TCU Press said yes to the whole thing and picked up all the production costs and everything. And we're like, and they even suggested this cool like square format. It's kind of like Instagram, like how Instagram used to be, square. We're like, yes. And so we did another trip. Like we lived in Baja California for like, after the vaccines came out, we lived there for about a month. And then we did another border trip, kind of filling in the gaps, taking photos. And right after this, it was all, what's not on here, 2 years of writing, 1 year of editing, and finally the book came out last year. Yeah, March 5th, 2024, the book comes out from TCU Press, and it's beautiful. We're very proud of it. All this just led up to this book, all that stuff. And just talking about the good, the bad, the ugly of the border, like it's all in there. It's all there. So I just want to throw out some facts for y'all about the border. It's roughly 2,000 miles of border. Out of that, there's roughly 700 miles of border wall, 38 Mexican municipalities, 24 U.S. border counties. Each one of them gets a chapter in our book. We went to all 56 international crossings. Let's take a look. Yeah, this is where the border wall goes into the ocean, the Pacific Ocean in San Diego, between San Diego and Tijuana. This is a snapshot from Tijuana. At the time, it was going through a tremendous building boom. I think Tijuana is like our favorite border city. It's now the second largest municipality in Mexico. It went from nothing. It had like 50 people in like the late 1800s, and then now it's like millions of people, and it's just skyscrapers everywhere, just popping up in Tijuana. It's crazy, and they got this amazing food scene. It's just really, really something else to see. This is a snapshot from the border crossing between Juarez and El Paso. You can see the Franklin Mountains in the background. So we're talking about the 56 international border crossing. This is one of the pedestrian crossings between El Paso and Juarez. There's 8 rail crossings between the U.S.-Mexico border in Texas, Arizona, and elsewhere. Of course, didn't cross them, but we saw them. There's 2 international dams. They're both in Texas. Falcon Lake down in the valley, and then also what do you call it? Between Ciudad Acuña and Eagle Pass, Amistad Lake. Between those 2 places. There's an actual ferry boat crossing here between Los Ebanos, Texas, and Gustavo Diaz Ordaz, Tamaulipas. It's a hand-pulled ferry crossing. For like a pedestrians like us, it was just $1. So that was fun. It was a fun little afternoon. There's an international rowboat between Big Bend National Park and another city across the border in Mexico that you can take. And you got to be back by like 4 o'clock though, because the customs office on the American side closes. If you don't make it by 4 p.m., you're spending the night in Mexico. And that's happened to me, I'm not going to lie. But it wasn't bad. It was nice. I mean, it was a nice town. They have restaurants. They have margaritas. It's fine. They have hotels. It's okay. It'll be fine. This is like what we call like an informal crossing. This is, yeah. You see these cables? Yeah. Hands and feet. That's, believe it or not, that's the Rio Grande River, and that's near Presidio, Texas, out in the Big Bend. And there's 2 little towns there, one on the Texas side, Candelaria, Texas, and then San Antonio del Bravo, Chihuahua. And why this exists is because people are related to each other on both sides. They work, they go to school on each side. Everyone goes to the doctor on the Mexican side because there's no doctors on the American side. And the kids cross to the American side to go to school. And the actual border crossing in Ojinaga and Presidio is like 2 hours away down some dirt roads that I've driven down. I don't really recommend you do it. I can't imagine doing it every day. So what they did is they built these hands and foot cables. And you go across and, it's technically illegal, but it's also tolerated. It's a tolerated thing because Border Patrol in the area, they know the people, they know the families, they know that, oh, that's just so-and-so's kid. They're just going to school. And then no one ever, the people who use this, they don't ever cross the border and then, oh, I'm going to go to Chicago and get a job or, no, they just go to cross, go to school, go to the store, and then go back to their side. And so Border Patrol seems okay with that for now. And then just going in the format of the book, for those of you who haven't seen it, there's usually kind of divided into regions, and so there's a nice title photo and then kind of an introduction. This is from where the Rio Grande empties into the Gulf of Mexico at Boca Chica Beach. If you go that way, that's SpaceX. And I took this photo on a beautiful, beautiful morning with my drone. So there's a regional chapter intro. Then you get into a history of that region, the historical overview, going back from prehistoric times to today, all the way from the Ice Age to Elon Musk, in a section. And so we mentioned those Mexican municipalities, and we mentioned the U.S. border counties. Each municipality gets its own little kind of chapter, if you will, a map where it's at, some kind of photos, some key facts. Key historical dates, what border crossings are there, and then you flip the page and you get to annual events, places of interest, eat and drink, what movies were filmed there, what music's from there, what books were written about the place or by people who were from there, and then who's famous. So that's all each municipality, and then that's a format that's repeated for the U.S. border counties as well. Let's see, but. Of course, yes. That makes it all sound great. Let's go visit. Let's go drive to the border now, right? No, well, there's security issues, and so each region, we break down the security issue, the history of smuggling, the history of crime, notable crime in the area, going all the way back to Civil War era. Smuggling isn't new to the border. I mean, there's always smuggling across any border in the world. In the 1800s, Mexico had enacted tariffs against U.S. goods, right? So guess what? People were smuggling stuff from America to Mexico back in the old days. And so smuggling's just been a part of the border ever since there ever was a border. So, and then I think during Prohibition, during the 1920s, that's when things got really exciting along the border regarding illegal activity, because liquor was being smuggled north from Mexico. Liquor was legal in the U.S. Liquor was illegal in the U.S. but legal in Mexico. So people crossed the border to go drinking, and there were gambling dens, brothels, all this stuff. But also liquor bottles just started finding their way north, and that just kind of set the stage up for that was the 1920s and 30s. So that kind of set the stage later for during the 1960s for drugs and illegal immigration, they just kind of tapped back into those old networks. And so, what do you call it? Yeah, so yeah, everything that's beautiful, all the beautiful things to see and eat in the border, but also security issues. Like we're not gonna gloss over it. And there's also like in another section of the book, there's like essays by experts, border experts. Like I'm in the energy sector, so a couple of buddies of mine contributed essays to it about the energy industry. One of the things about Mexico is like one of the largest buyers of energy from the United States, buying billions of cubic feet per day, at least 6 billion cubic feet per day of natural gas. Mexico buys a lot of refined products like gasoline, diesel, jet fuel, but then also the United States in return buys lots of crude oil, and their pipelines and everything set up for all this trade and their ship routes and everything, shipping. So we had contributors to the book. The former Customs and Border Protection Commissioner Alan Burson wrote the foreword. Again, we had experts write about trade, cross-border trade, migration, border security. We had some experts write about that. Environmental issues, energy, as we saw earlier, public health. The idea was we had one essay from a Mexican author and one from an American. So it's a binational book in every sense of the word. And just to reiterate, again, like contributions the Borders made, nachos, this is the original recipe. I know we think of nachos like beans and meat and stuff, but the original recipe from the Victory Club in Piedras Negras, Coahuila, was just simple tortilla chips, cheese, and sliced jalapenos. That was oh man, my stomach's rumbling just looking at the photo. Those are good. I went to the restaurant. Well, the restaurant is closed, but I went to the successor restaurant where I got this plate, and let me tell you, they're good. They're good. It's good. Again, margaritas. This bar is still open. The Kentucky Club in Ciudad Juarez, just a short walk from El Paso. I think it's the Kentucky Club. 1920s prohibition was in full effect in the U.S., but people would cross the border. The way the story goes is that one of the waiters there at the Kentucky Club invented this drink for a girl named Margarita. Hi, Margarita, I invented this drink. Now, what I don't know, and I really should have researched this, is whatever happened to Margarita? Did the waiter and Margarita ever get married or something? I don't know. I mean, that would be a fantastic story on its own. But either way, the world is a better place, yeah? Because of the margarita. And you can still go there to this day and get the original recipe of margarita. It's just very simple. And they hand squeeze lime juice right there. They have a guy just squeezing limes all day. He's got big forearms. He's just like that. And so lime juice, tequila, I think it's Cointreau? Yeah, Cointreau. And then salt and lime. But it's still there. And they're quite potent too. I remember the first time we went, it was on our first border trip. And it's like hot. It's like 100 degrees. And we're there and we have one and it's just like, oh. And this is like during the drug war, and we're like in Juarez, one of the most dangerous cities on earth at the time, right? And I'm like, did he slip something in our drinks? And the question, no, he actually did not. We watched him make the second one. We watched him like a hog to make sure. And no, they're just that strong. It was that hot. And then also to this day, so the Caesar salad was invented in Tijuana, also during the 1920s, because Tijuana really didn't get its start until Prohibition, because everyone in California would just flood Tijuana, flood the border to go to bars, brothels, racetracks, casinos, you name it. The original governor, or the governor of Baja California back then, was a smart guy. He said, we're going to put a vice tax on all these businesses. And they built out highways. They did all types of things on the Mexican side using that money that they would get from the vices. But as a byproduct, though, there's this Italian immigrant, Cesar, I can't remember, I know it starts with a G, I can't remember his last name, but he built a hotel and a restaurant called Caesar's in Tijuana. And in the 1920s, he kind of perfected the recipe, and they still do it to this day, tableside, the romaine lettuce, the Worcestershire sauce, all the mayonnaise, olive oil, the eggs, and they just all mix it up there tableside for you in Tijuana. it's still, and that restaurant endures to this day, and everybody eats Caesar salad, of course. So. Also, so like earlier I mentioned the how each municipality and county had their own kind of stuff about music. Like I actually went through and took every artist and every song that I mentioned in the book and just created one giant Spotify playlist. Like almost 500 songs it says, 24 hours of music, like solid. So if you ever don't know what to listen to, just look this up. And it has everything. It has like narco hip hop. It has corridos. It has like Tejano. It has heavy metal. Like it has indie rock. Like it has the border. Has everything. Also, just kind of wanted to showcase some of the famous movies that were filmed along the border. Like the original movie Dune was filmed in 2 places along the border: in the Samalayuca sand dunes south of Ciudad Juarez, and then also in the Gran Altar Desert of Sonora. Actually, most of the original Dune was filmed in Mexico, in Mexico City, but it had some locations along the border. Casablanca, with the old movie, was filmed, I guess, like in the Imperial Valley of California, so that's a border region. The movie Traffic, which is kind of an action thriller kind of movie, was filmed on several locations along the U.S.-Mexico border between Arizona and California. So a lot of noteworthy movies have been filmed along the border. Award-winning ones as well. There's a lot of books about the border, not just this one. And so I created a kind of like a public list on Amazon of all the books from the book. So just listing who's written what about the border from each community. There's a lot of famous people that people don't know about from the border too. I mean, it's not just food and drink. I mean, we got Linda Ronstadt, who's from Tucson, Arizona. But like her ancestors, her great-great-grandparents were some of the original settlers in Caborca and Sonora. And so that's famous. Cher, believe it or not, we all know Cher, but did you know that she was actually born in a border town called Calexico? And she spent most of her childhood there. Her dad was a railroad worker in that border town. There used to be a railroad crossing there. And her parents divorced, and her mom moved to LA, and well, we know what happened after all that, right? So Cesar Chavez is from Yuma, Arizona, civil rights champion. Was Cesar Chavez Day. Okay, and I think we're about to wrap it up. This is just the QR codes. If you want to listen on Spotify or whatever, I think I'll just leave that up. But I think, Melissa, we had some time for Q&A, right?
Yes, does anyone have any questions? I'll bring them up.
Yeah.
This is a factual book?
Yes, non-fiction.
Have you ever read fiction before?
Oh, me?
Yeah, like to base.
No.
Well, I mean, the reason I'm saying that is because when you read a fiction book, you're able to revert to what you learned that's not true, to what is true, so you know that it's 100% factual.
Oh, okay.
So if you don't know a lie, how can you know the truth?
Right. Well, so I thought about like writing like kind of like screenplays or movies based on some of the stuff.
Yeah.
Kind of. That would be cool, right?
It's all good. You can,
Yeah. It would be a good mental exercise, I think.
I haven't read it yet. I'm sorry. I'm just trying to learn it.
Do you have a library card? They have a copy.
Yeah, I'm going to get it. I'm going to get it. Yeah.
All right.
Anyone else has any questions?
Ellen?
What are some of the top things that you would say are different now in late 2025 compared to when y'all visited the border and started working on the book?
Oh, right. Okay. No, I'm really glad you asked that because guess what? Like, I should have mentioned this, but like on that first trip, we were so scared, y'all. Like, we were like petrified. Like, daylight only. Park on the American side. Like walk back before the sunset. But like on later trips, just drive for hours and hours inside Mexico and spend the night in Mexican hotels on the Mexican side. Like the security situation did improve, but also like we're not going out to bars at night or nightclubs. Like one of the things that I left out was that like even before the drug war and before the book, like I grew up at a time in Texas, right? And back then we used to go to the border all the time. We've lost this thanks to the drug war and thanks to the security situation in Mexico. But like teenagers, college students, we used to be able to just cross the border, pay $10 for all you can drink, stay up till 6 a.m., and then come back to our side. and just party, and we lost that. But going back to your question, like now, the security situation has changed and improved into where we feel comfortable, we feel safe, like driving in the border. In fact, we did that once, and we went from Columbus, New Mexico, down to Janos, Chihuahua, where they have this herd of buffalo, right? We wanted to see the buffalo. And so that takes hours to get there from Columbus. And then we ended up coming back through Agua Prieta, Sonora, and Douglas, Arizona. And we drove for hours. And when we finally got back to the U.S. Customs to come back in the country, they're like, what? Because they scan your license plates when you leave. They know you left. They know you did this totally weird thing. And then they're like, they searched our car. They like, like, it took us there for 2 hours, like taking my car apart. And they didn't find anything either. But I mean, how would it change? It's like we feel comfortable, being in Mexico at night, spending the night on the Mexican side, driving for hours, seeing amazing landscapes and amazing things that few people get to see. So.
I have one more thing.
Yeah.
Like I said, I haven't read your book. I observe people. I've done a lot of research in religion, spirituality, all religion. I can tell a good person when I see one. I know you're a good person. I can't tell you how I know that.
Right.
I just did, I think, but I'm going to read your book for sure.
Well, thank you.
Because it's factual, and I need to read factual compared to not factual.
Sure.
So I just want to say I can tell you're a good man. I can tell you work hard to get where you're at.
Oh, yeah.
And congratulations on your book. Thank you for that.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you. And the border's filled with nice, lovely people as well.
My name is Jeremy. By the way.
Jeremy?
I'm
All right.
nobody, but
All right. Good to meet you. Anybody else? Yeah.
What was your favorite experience? You could recommend one thing for folks to do.
Oh man. That's a really good question. I know people always ask. I don't know. Just enjoy a day in Tijuana and just enjoy it. It's dirty. It's ugly. There are beautiful parts. There are ugly parts. There's a beach. Just spend a day there, and then you'll understand the bicultural, binational. You can stay in a high-rise hotel. You can have like this they call it Baja Med. It's a new cuisine from Tijuana. It's a mixture of Mediterranean, because they have a Mediterranean climate. So it's like Mediterranean food mixed with Asian, mixed with Mexican. It's like unheard of. Like the ceviche and everything there is just amazing. And you can go to the modern, you can go like to these awesome posh places, and then you go to this tiny dive bar, and yeah, it's also very affordable too. And then you're going to a beautiful part, then you're going through slums, and there's always that little hint of danger. And it really was a dangerous place, right? And then you can see so many eye-opening things there. I would spend a day there. Yeah. And then yeah.
Throughout your travels and interacting with different people on the border,
Yeah.
were you able to see a measurable impact of the violence on the people?
Oh, yeah. There are photos in the book, right? So there are some ghost towns to this day. Like remember that town where they're making those cowboy boots. The photo, that's a ghost town. Like it's called Ciudad Mier, and the cartel was nice enough to warn the townspeople, hey, we're gonna have a gun battle here on Saturday. Y'all might want to leave town. And they did. The whole town, all 10,000 people. And then guess what? Only 6,000 people made it back. The other 4,000 decided, like, you know what? I'm kind of done with this place. And you can drive around, you can see bullet holes and all types of things, like in communities, still to this day, like burns from the grenades and things like that. But people, that's their home, that's where they're from, and they persevere, and some people stay. And you can definitely see. Most visibly, I would say the biggest impact too is on the nightlife. You used to have a thriving nightlife in almost every border town. Tijuana is the only kind of exception now these days where they still have a nightlife, and you as an American can go out and just enjoy it, right? But other towns, no. Like if you go to Ciudad Acuña, it's like a ghost town. They had this strip, and it's just dead at night, and that's been taken away, and it's not. I don't know. It may not come back in its former glory, So yeah. Anybody? Jake?
Yeah, so from one of those pictures we saw, I know that some of like the latter research you did on the book was during the pandemic.
Right.
What was that like some of the border towns there? Like how did that impact the traffic? And do you think there's lasting impacts from the pandemic still happening?
Right. No, I'm glad you asked that because we were living in Ensenada and Tijuana at the time. And actually, you know what? They were more strict about masks. And every time you went into a bar, you had to do the little. Remember when you had to do the temperature thing? And they had those weird pads where you they're kind of wet pads, and you always had to kind of stomp your feet and pretend, and then they let you in. So actually, they were a lot more strict on the Mexican side regarding COVID protocols because. Yeah, I mean, you were living here in Houston, right, at the time? Yeah, you remember what that was like. So I remember, so I'm in the oil and gas business. I remember going to Midland, Texas, right? And it was the opposite over there. There was like this one pizza parlor in downtown Midland. They said, if you're wearing a mask, you're not allowed in here. so it was so completely different. And they were really kind about it, but yet they were firm about their COVID protocols in restaurants and bars. And it was just like you go through all this, and yet it's a crowded bar with live music, and everyone's drinking margaritas, but you're okay after you just need to take your temperature, it was something else. Yeah, and vaccines were a lot slower to roll out then. I think I stood in line with thousands of people at Minute Maid Stadium, well, that's what it was called back then. And then got the vaccine, and then I was able to go and live in Mexico. But our neighbors weren't vaccinated. We lived there for a month, and our neighbors in Mexico didn't have vaccines. We did, but they didn't. So. Anyone else?
I have a question.
Hey.
Hey. What was the most unexpected thing you learned from your journey?
The most unexpected thing?
Considering you grew up in the border. And
Yeah.
What was the most unexpected?
I think the most unexpected thing was just how welcoming people on the Mexican side of the border are. All these immigrant shelters in Sonora and Ciudad Acuña, places like that. I mean, they're getting people who don't even speak Spanish show up, and yet they're making room. They're accommodating. They're Catholic, and they're Catholic charities, and they're like welcoming the stranger. They're being the good Samaritan, and it was just this example of faith, I think, that I found very heartwarming. The one thing that I learned is that on the Mexican side, people put their faith into practice, like actual practice. Words Jesus said about like welcoming the stranger, washing the stranger's feet. I was just blown away by like how seeing Catholicism and Christianity in action, and I think that was very heartwarming to see that. Whereas, yeah. Yeah, in other places it's not quite the same, and same people who profess the same faith quite to that. Like that was beautiful to see, very unexpected. Steve.
Good question.
Yeah.
When you started this book or this track,
Yeah.
you had certain expectations of where you were going.
Yeah.
And then you started traveling down the highway.
Right.
What were the changes from what you presumed you were going to do or see to what was the outcome?
All right. Yeah, I thought this was going to be like, the narco book, like Narcos or something, but yeah, it ended up being like expanded in scope. Yeah, it's still there, but like I think that like no, there's actually like all these amazing people and amazing things, and it's more than just the violence. Because I came from a reporting background. I made a living reporting the violence and all the bad things. And so I think like we had envisioned kind of like more like a book about the border and all these crazy gun battles and beheadings, kind of like an anthology of like all this cartel violence and cartel intrigue, and then it ended up being like so much more. So, one question I always get is, have I ever run into anybody from the cartels? The answer is yes. As a reporter, I used to get press releases from the Gulf Cartel. Back then, they were kind of toying around with social media, Instagram, Twitter, and whatnot, because they had these Twitter reporters, but yet the cartels had their own set of kind of narco influencers, if you will. And I would get followed by them, and I would get sent press releases. Oh, the Zetas killed 200 people. They found a pit with their bodies. And then, as a reporter, you're like, well, great. How do I confirm this independently? Often you didn't, but sometimes you did, And then I think when I got a drone, that was just like this whole like kind of about 3 or 4 years ago, I kind of went back to a few places and got drone shots. And I remember I was in this one town, names protected, names withheld to protect the innocent. But I was in this one town, just getting a picture with my drone of the the main plaza with the church and the city hall. It's a very cute photo. It's in the book. But I had flown to get a good angle to zoom. I flew my drone over a warehouse. But guess what? No, you know what that warehouse had? Yeah. You know who came out? Like, whose drone is that? And I just turned white. I mean, whiter than my shirt, whiter than I was just pale. And I was like, me? And they're like, I showed them the photos, and these guys had tattoos, necks, arms, everything. They had 3 or 4 cell phones, and if you're familiar with Mexico, with Mexican culture, they had that kind of Nextel thing going on, the walkie-talkie thing going. And then they radio their boss, nomás es una turista, nomás, it's only a tourist, it's only a tourist. And they said, they just told me and said, have a nice day. And they kind of let me go, and I land the drone, pack it up, get out of town. And I was like, thank you. It was so crazy. So yeah. And then also I've rolled through several cartel checkpoints. You can always tell by their shoes. Like there's these police checkpoints you roll through driving, like I said, hours in the border on the Mexican side. But guess what? Checkpoints are common for the military and police and whatnot, but then there's also these kind of police checkpoints. They're not really the police. They're dressed up like the police. Yeah, if it's usually police, they have a gun, but they don't have ammo. These guys have ammo, and then the shoes were kind of like a giveaway too.
So what's the shoes?
The designer sneakers. Yeah, nicer shoes than a cop could afford. Okay, so. That's always the dead giveaway. So, and that's in places like this is again, driving from Laredo on the Mexican side all the way to the Eagle Pass, on the Mexican side. So going to Piedras Negras, it's I must have rolled through 2 or 3 such checkpoints. They're not real police. I didn't know it at the time, and I was going with a friend, and she was yeah.
What are they looking for? What are they looking for?
Make sure you're not a rival. Make sure you don't have drugs or immigrants or things like that. And so we're just tourists. We put on my worst Spanish accent. Hola, me llamo, like that. And then I'm traveling with a woman. She's Anglo, So that just worked perfectly. It was just undercover, And I think when we got to Piedras Negras, the first thing we did, I think, was go to church. we went to church. It was a Sunday, so that morning we went to mass in Laredo. And then I think after going through all that, you see all the graffiti, all the bullet holes, and we're flying our drone everywhere. We're having fun. We're seeing Spanish era, missions and churches. And then we get back to Piedras Negras, check into our hotel, and then let's go to church and give thanks. So I don't know, but anybody else or no? No, all good. Yeah, I think that'll.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sergio, for a wonderful presentation. I want to sincerely thank you for coming out to discuss your book, and thank our audience here and online for joining us for this talk. Before we wrap up this event, I do have a few announcements. Sergio will be on site for a few minutes after the event in case you wanted to chat with him, ask some additional questions, or take a photo. Please feel free after this event to get a library card at our customer service desk to have access to a variety of books, music, games, cookware, and so much more. Finally, visit our website at houstonlibrary.org for more information on upcoming events, including author visits,